World famous Parkway Diner on this Monday, November 10th, the year of our Lord 2025, and shout out to Steve Bannon, of course. But I got some other preliminaries to get into. First of all, I have spent a good part of the day, just like Eric has, both of us trying to solve this bizarre problem. We have a technical issue right now. It is not possible for our beloved audience to access our website at the moment. You can go to the YouTube channel, but not the website. And we've been trying to get a straight answer on this. And I'll tell you, the biggest single problem is that customer support with Wix and GoDaddy are both horrible, horrible. So whoever's in charge of those companies, you need to fix things up. Number one, you need to develop a group of people who have true expertise and understand the ins and outs of your websites and your rules and how information gets moved around, because the people that I dealt with didn't have a clue, and they're supposedly human beings working for your company. And then the second thing is that the instructions, they're not clear at all. They may be clear to you, but they're not clear to a person like me, okay? So you got some things to attend to as far as I'm concerned. The next preliminary bitching point I want to get into is we're getting into some hot water here, hot water, over just what the hell is happening with, quote, MAGA, all right? We're seeing strange things like TG making nice on The View of all places and starting to say things that are really CNN worthy, right? And so it's called What Has Happened to Her? And of course, there's the running battle between, is it Representative or Senator Massey?
I thought it was a senator or representative.
Yeah, it's a representative. Yeah, between Massey and Trump. Okay, this is another, cannonball ball thing. Yeah, and Rand Paul as well. Okay, so these are sort of the obvious points of these fraction lines forming. And then the other thing that's not helping, of course, was the increasingly legendary interview between Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. This seems to have triggered a lot of people. And I just want to step up for a minute and try to address this, okay? And point out that there are certain people, I'll name them. So Mark Levin, Josh Hammer, and Ben Shapiro have been what we might call ultra-sensitive, ultra-touchy when it comes to saying anything that's even vaguely perceived as negative about Israel. Dudes, get a grip, okay? Using myself as an example, I am still a supporter of Israel, but I have my criticisms of Israel. The criticisms in no way make me a Hitler, a Nazi, an anti-Semite, any of that nonsense, okay? And here's the problem for you dudes. The more you keep yapping like this, the more you are losing your credibility. Mark Levin thinks he's fashioned some very persuasive, smooth narrative in his attack on Tucker Carlson, but sorry, I am not buying it. And I can assure you, if I'm not buying it, a lot of other people are not buying it. Anyway, enough of that. I want to get on to the hot stuff here, baby. Right. First of all, Mr. Tong, all is not as it seems. So I'll just let that cryptic statement stand. And as for Tita Peters, I think I mentioned last week that there are moves to get her to be taken from a state facility to a federal facility. I don't know how that's going to go, but wow, it's the injustice goes on, and I really want to see a resolution to it myself, okay? And by the way, since this is Yankee T News, please subscribe. Oh, what was it you wanted to remind me, Eric? Oh, that's right. He wanted to remind me to subscribe. So I'm going to remind you to subscribe.
Subscribe, follow.
Yes.
Share,
yes, as well.
embrace.
Right. Because we're trying to increase our level of engagement.
Gesticulate to your friends.
And just to share this, yeah, that too. And share a little information with you. We are now 3 away from 1,000 subscribers.
And if you don't subscribe within the next 2 or 3 weeks,
yes,
our
erstwhile
host will be featured in Joker makeup.
Oh, jeez, oh, great. Don't encourage him. Oh, man.
Now,
Okay.
when you say Joker makeup,
Yes.
are we talking classic Cesar Romero?
Absolutely.
Are
Really?
we talking
I'm thinking,
Oscar-worthy Jack Nicholson, or are we talking Heath Ledger, who of course did win the
I
Oscar
would-
for
I-
those people who died while playing a role?
I have a feeling you guys would like to pick Heath Ledger. So, yeah.
Heath Ledger won an Oscar for dying.
Yeah, okay, so let me get on with this here. Yeah, all right, so once again, please subscribe, anybody who's hearing this. Where do I want to start? Okay, reading the tea leaves of the populist movement, all right? So there are a number of issues here concerning what happened on Tuesday. You know, Mamdani getting elected in New York City is an issue all by itself, but there are a couple of things here to keep in mind. Let me just rattle off. I found this one passage. You know, some people want to make the point that the election happened at a very bad time because the shutdown got a lot of people angry, okay, coupled with the ongoing controversies over ICE arresting illegal aliens, and that combined into a dissatisfied hive of Democrats who then came out and voted against all things Republican and for one such as Mamdani. Now, the other point is, if you haven't read it, it's something like 80% of all women under the age of 30 voted for Mamdani in New York City. Feels like you want to say something about that. No? Yeah, so it's things like this that show that there's something wrong. In any event, let me just rattle this off here. So Democrats flipped 2 seats in the Georgia Public Service Commission. The vote for the state Supreme Court justices in Pennsylvania completely went against Republican plans. Mississippi Democrats broke a supermajority there in the House. Democrats flipped all 3 city councils in Georgetown, South Carolina. They flipped the city council in Charlotte. And they flipped the last remaining city council seat in Orlando. Meantime, here in Connecticut, sorry?
Stamford, Connecticut.
Yeah,
The last 3 Republicans off the Board of Representatives.
so it's all Democrat now.
100% Democrat.
Wow. Okay, there you go. So there's something very strange going on here, if I may so suggest. And I go back to my earlier explanation. You've got all these things that have gotten Democrats upset, and it's managed to get them to get out and vote. At the same time, I hate to say it, as far as the Republican side and most unaffiliated voters, not so concerned, okay? So as a result, they didn't show up. We still want to get a good detailed analysis of those voting numbers, so we'll have a report for you, okay? All right, so the problem in Connecticut is that, and I've set it up the way it should be set up, we got new voting machines. Oh boy, from a company called ES&S System, it's Election Systems and Services or something, ES&S. Any event, no sooner did we get these new machines than the last bastion of Republican anything in Connecticut was wiped out, okay? We lost, 29 municipal seats went from Republican to Democrat in this election. Now, my question is, has that ever happened before? Is there any other set of municipal elections where the shift was that dramatic, which would be, let me see, about a 30% shift? Have we ever had a 30% shift from one party to the other at the municipal level? That's my question. Okay, so in reading the tea leaves for the populist movement, things may not be quite as they seem, but it does bring us, of course, to my favorite character. He reminds me of, I'm trying to remember, Karl Marx. No, Groucho Marx. He reminds Karl Marx, but he looks like Groucho Marx. So, Mamdani. All right, my editorial was Mamdani screams Alluah Akbar in 10, 9, 8. So, 2 things I want to point out immediately for you later. Or first of all, here's the major point I want to make about Mamdani. Right now, everybody's focused on, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, too many rules, restrictions, laws, this, blah, blah, blah. You're missing the point. You're really missing the point, okay? The real point, the real clue, the one I've set up here in my op-ed, which will be available someday somehow, was when he went to Puerto Rico. What was his first stop in Puerto Rico? A mosque. Not fellow politicians, not some other group of people who supporters of New York City or any Puerto Rican interest. No, he went to a mosque, and not just any mosque, because the imam there had referred to October 7th as a silver lining. So don't tell me that he has rejected global intifada. He clearly has not. Okay, so here's the thing. He gets up in front of this group, and so he makes some comments about this was the place he wanted to come to, and what did the audience say? Allahu Akbar. They shouted out in unison, Allahu Akbar, right there in what? Puerto Rico? Yes, Puerto Rico. Meantime, there's another video on X that you can find, which I reference, where there was a rally in New York City in which you had the speaker say that Islam is claiming New York City for itself. Well, I've never heard of any religious group claiming a city for itself, but if there was ever any question that Islam is not...
Publicly.
What do you mean publicly? He said it in public.
Yes, but if other religious groups had claimed it.
They did it privately.
Thank you.
All right, well, that gets into a whole other subject, which we won't get into. No. You would see, I think you would see obvious evidence of this. Because, I don't know, if one was to get into a religious history of New York City, yeah, it would be kind of complex and nuanced, I think. But the Muslims apparently don't have any problem, screaming that New York City belongs to them. Sorry, it doesn't. But I'm worried that others will not speak up. What do you think, Alan?
Well, if I were to jump up and down and say that New York City belongs to the Scots Irish,
Yes.
that becomes the automatic fact that nobody objects to it.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I were to say that New York City belongs to the British.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we sorted that one out.
Well, we did, but if I said that we're going to give it back to the British.
Yeah, well, we're not going to give it back to the British.
But again.
And there are some who say that the British still own it. There's that conspiracy school. All right.
There are those that until somebody stands up and says no, the
Yeah.
British can't have it.
Yeah.
is
Okay.
all British.
All right, but it's one thing to make claim for, what should we say, religious, here, watch out, religious / political / cultural hegemony in a city with over 8 million people. I think you might have an issue, especially if you are a minority, as the Muslims are in New York City.
Are they though?
Yes, they are. Yeah, I think there's a claim. As you know, the Jewish population makes up about 20%, but now the claim is that the Muslim population in New York City is approaching about 20% as well. All right, so this is the thing. As the Muslim segment grows bigger, that's going to embolden them. And emboldening them means several things, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not sure how this is going to be handled. The problem is you're going to have a mayor in charge who is a Muslim and will probably show a certain amount of favoritism for his fellow Muslims. Look forward to Sharia courts.
They already
Okay.
have police in New York.
Wait, there's a Sharia court in New York City?
No, but they have their own law enforcement.
Okay, well,
Do the Jews.
yes, that's right, as do the Jews, that's correct.
There are no Christian safety.
Okay, so these are the things that just create more problems. Everybody's going to argue over who's got jurisdiction, who's got the final authority. What a mess. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be about whether or not you can ride free buses. It's going to be about dealing with all these impositions that you're going to experience, because now you're going to find the Muslims becoming much more assertive. One example, woman walking her dog in the park. Muslim guy comes by and says, "Lady, you can't do this. We find it's very offensive." Oh, really? Well, expect more of that, and worse.
It's not
And
whether you
worse.
can ride the bus for free, it's whether you have to sit in the front or the back of the bus.
Oh, there'll be that too.
Penny private bus.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay.
Hold on,
You gotta remember something, we've already lost the battle on Sharia courts.
Well,
And here's why.
okay, yes. Why?
We allow Catholic tribunals, we allow rabbinical courts.
Yeah.
How can we tell one religion
Okay,
they can't have something that
I'm
we've
gonna-
been giving to other religions
right.
for years?
It's going to depend upon the scope of what we're talking about,
But
okay?
it's always going to start small.
Oh yes, that's my other point. Yes, it starts small and then they're going to put on more and more demands. Yes.
In the boiling water.
Yeah. Okay, let me move on to the next things here. All right. Let me just make the point, ladies and gentlemen. I've said that we're picking up on the MAHA movement and food ingredients, food additives. And there is a number. I need for you to plug this number in, all right? In the United States, we have about 10,000 chemicals that are used in our food. Now, the problem is when you go online and you try to look up food additives, there's about 15 or 20 that they pick on: potassium bromate, azocarbamide that's used in flour to make it doughy. What are some of the other things? Can't remember right now, but these are the things that are constantly mentioned over and over again when there are many others. I've mentioned this thing called diacetyl, which is used to flavor popcorn. Shows up in a lot of products, and exposure to that can be harmful over time. And of course, old favorite, MSG, right? Monosodium glutamate. Okay, but they don't really, there's 10,000 some additives, so there's many others to be concerned with. All right, so but in this particular article, they're pointing out that when you look at the food label, you'll find artificial flavor, natural flavor, and spices. These are vague terms. The food companies don't have to disclose what makes those up. And it could well turn out that not only those ingredients, but the way in which those ingredients are made can be harmful. There are some products, there are tea extracts, for example, that use hexane. All right, so how can you be sure that when they've really cleaned it up, they've really gotten enough hexane out? I'm sure there's supposed to be standards, but that's not my idea of natural. All right, let me move on to the next thing. Speaking of things that are unnatural. All right, I have spoken many times before about the good old Chinese and how they're taking over stuff in America. We have this huge parallel economy. That's the communist Chinese economy that functions within America. Dare I go through it again? Accounting firms, law firms, transportation companies, construction companies, entertainment companies, real estate agencies. It just goes on and on. And the other place, of course, is food manufacturing. So Exhibit A, when we want to talk about communist Chinese influence in America's food industry, we want to talk about Smithfield. Is that the name? Yes, Smithfield. So a pork processing company. I think it's the largest. They control 25% of pork production in America. Okay, well, having said that, let's also acknowledge, yes, it's true. China grows more pigs than the next 5 countries combined. So for them, pork is huge. So that they would get involved in the pork industry, America, in one respect, is not so amazing. But the problem is that involvement in the pork industry is just one part of the larger problem here, because you're going to find that the Chinese are also providing agricultural chemicals, they are providing farm equipment, they are providing other components that make up the food supply chain in this country, and it's it's not a good thing. And then they mentioned in this article, they talk about drones. Yeah, that's a factor too. Okay, so this is all for the bad. And I just want to warn you, people, you need to read up on the subject. And when we get the website back up and running, the link will be there. Make sure you take care of it. Meantime, every so often, all right, right now I want to talk about oppression of Christianity. Okay? Oppression of Christianity. What has triggered this in the moment has been what happened with this slaughter, this one of many slaughters, unending slaughters, going on in Nigeria. Okay? So now President Trump has finally decided to speak up about it and says, well, I'm going to put some people on this and there's going to be a response to this. We're not going to put up with Christians being slaughtered in Nigeria or anywhere else.
Christians in Nigeria have been being slaughtered for at least 50 years.
Yeah, okay, but, all right, fine. Okay,
and Nigerian Christian.
okay, that said,
So the question is, why is it so interesting now?
I think only because President Trump cares. Biden didn't care. Obama certainly didn't care.
I think it's because of all of the pressure that he's been getting, or the administration has been getting about showing such favoritism to Jews.
No, well, oh boy. Okay, here we go. He has not shown favoritism to Jews more than any other president. In fact, it will be less. Is the Abraham Accords favoritism?
To Israel? What do you think?
No, it's not. The
How is
point of the Abraham Accords is to build. Look, there are a number of countries that still refuse to recognize Israel. If you sign on to the Abraham Accords, you're recognizing Israel's right to exist. Right? I don't know if you want to call that favoritism. But what it does is it ends certain conflicts. You know, just to make the point, right? You can shake your head all you want. The Abraham Accords have been successful to date. Okay? They've accomplished things through the Abraham Accords that were never accomplished before.
Then why is it statistically provable and based on the recent stats for support for Israel have gone into the toilet over the last 6 or 8 months?
Okay, that's because
Maybe it's because of the genocide in Gaza. What about the Nakba experience where 750,000 Palestinians were slaughtered?
The what's?
I mean, how is that favorable to us? I don't get it.
The
Please
what?
Explain.
What was that term? Nazbugs?
Nakba. The
Nakba?
Alan?
Nakba? I don't know.
He's speaking Mamdani.
Oh, you're speaking Mamdani-ese. I see.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So just to help you out, Eric, now we have the military lawyers for the IDF announcing that they are suspicious that their own Israeli forces have committed war crimes in Gaza. No reaction?
I think that's too little too late, and I'll tell you why. And
Well-
I'm going to say that I don't think they've committed war crimes.
Yeah.
So I want to qualify that.
Sure.
They were attacked. They responded. Now, you can argue whether they responded with an appropriate level. You can
Right.
argue the level of force, but you cannot argue that October 7th was anything other than an offensive attack on Israel.
Sure. I think most, all right, well, now you've got all this,
Nakba is a mass grave where more than
yeah.
where
Yeah, so I don't know, we're losing the thread here, dear audience. So as you can imagine, the issues around Israel spark this kind of, you know, I don't want to use the word chatter in a pejorative sense. There are points, and I don't like this situation where it's just me talking to the camera. I would much rather have the 3 of us in front of the camera hashing this stuff out, or the 4 of us for that matter, okay? But until then, all I can say is you have these issues. I don't know how they get resolved. I don't know how you arrive at a place where you say this is true and that's not true. I just don't know how you get there. All right? In the meantime, though, you know, you're faced with these larger questions, all right? And I think you'll find that most Americans, for example, would not say, yes, you should dissolve Israel. That's not a mainstream view in this country, and I certainly don't share it, okay?
who's saying dissolve Israel?
There are people, okay? I don't want to,
I don't think for like at least from the America First peanut gallery.
Yeah.
They're not saying that Israel doesn't have a right not to exist. They're just saying they want America's priorities to trump everybody else's. Going back to George Washington and Thomas Jefferson's
all right, so,
admonishing the government
right, so
not
if
to get involved with the foreign affairs of other.
yeah, so if the audience is not quite hearing what Eric is saying, but he's reminding us that America First and Israel First have been at loggerheads now since this interview between Carlson and Fuentes, all right? And it should be obvious to anybody in this country that if you live in America, you're an American, and you care about this country, you're going to be, quote, America First. But that doesn't exclude Israel by any means, all right? But you have people like Mark Levin and others who want to make it sound like we want to throw Israel in the gutter, when that's not true at all, okay?
I think
So
a
they
good-
need
a
to
good
stop that.
analogy would be this. I can be MAGA, believe in America first, it doesn't mean I'm not going to eat or drink or eat something made with Canadian maple syrup.
Okay, yes.
What America first means is that I'm going to have my medical control in my maple syrup first, but it doesn't mean I'm opposed to Canadian maple syrup.
Right. Well, I'll take that as a analogy, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
Yes.
there are some people that would say,
All right, yeah.
if I'm doing that, then I'm somehow wishing Canada not to exist. No, I just don't think they make the best syrup.
Okay, well, this is the problem that we're having. The people who are very sensitive about Israel are acting like this. And again, the point I made earlier is that these people like Mark Levin, if they keep going on like this, they're going to lose their credibility. Okay, you're crying.
They already have.
You're crying. The sky is falling when it's not. Okay, and you're crying about people who still support Israel, and you think we don't, and that's just not true. Not true. Anyway.
Because we want everything to be black and white, and sometimes things are gray.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mark Levin
Okay.
saying, if you're not with me, you're against me.
Yeah.
And you have Candace Owens saying, if you're not against me, you're with me.
Jeez. That's pretty funny. All right, we need to move on. We need to move on. All right, so we have covered the tea leaves of populism, communist China at our throat with our food supply, global war on Christianity. Now, of course, so since I started this a few days ago, there's obviously been a change with respect to the government shutdown. So now we have the Senate having finally passed a resolution to go ahead and do this, but there are at least 2 or more legislative steps to take before they will actually, quote, open up the government. So it's called...
It's progressing the way it was intended to.
Okay, well, that may be so. That may be so. So the other thing I want, oh yes, I just have to mention this again. Once we get the website back, there is a hilarious video. This guy describes himself as a mispigmented trans-Native American. And he does it in this very deadpan way, and it's hilarious. So you got to see that. And just to mention it, I put up a link. The pressure against these people like Comey and Brennan is building, and more evidence that Comey was a part of the Russian hoax. And at some point, it's like, enough already. Just send him to jail, please. It's obvious. And just to mention again, yes, so I put up the link here that the Department of Justice is working on getting Tina Peters into a federal facility and out of the state facility. We'll see how that goes. I think Governor Polis still hasn't seen the light. That's the problem. Yep, hasn't seen the light. So Governor Polis of Colorado, right. So all right, so there's just one, okay, the last thing I want to bring up here and call it a night after all this fun controversy is, my goodness, that funny space object out there, that weird cylinder-shaped thing, seems to have suddenly accelerated, and it's changing colors. All right. Now, let me just say, you kind of have to read between the lines. They make it complicated. After all, it is an astronomer from Harvard.
You're talking about
The interstellar object 31/Atlas says change color again, and you got to love these crazy terms. Shows signs of non-gravitational acceleration. Yes, I guess we had to clear that up, because supposedly as it gets closer to the sun, the gravitational field gets stronger and it's going to accelerate, right?
turned on its sockets.
Turn on its sockets. Anyway,
Rockets.
it's rockets, maybe. So I just want to remind you, if you never read it, there's a science fiction book called Rendezvous with Rama. You read it?
I've heard of it.
Yes. So Rendezvous with Rama, written by Arthur C. Clarke, basically describes, it's almost word for word, how astronomers discover this strange object that's come into our galaxy, into our solar system, and they're tracking it and they're going, oh my God, it's a huge alien spaceship. Now in the story, they have some astronauts actually go out there. They're able to get into this thing. It's about, I'm going to say 15 miles long, 5 miles wide, and there's this civilization inside the ship that's in a dormant state. And one of the things, for example, was there was a huge lake And that lake was an acid lake, and there were robots that would throw things into the lake to be dissolved and then to be recycled. All right, so that was an interesting point. All right, so the spoiler alert is this. Everybody thought, oh my God, this huge ship, it's coming to Earth, they're going to invade us. It did no such thing. They later figured out that this giant ship was in a, what would you call it, a state of hibernation. And as they were approaching the sun, they were going to pick up energy from the sun and then use it as a gravitational sling to go around and go on to the next leg of their journey. And that was it. And they had no interest in us at all. No interest in what was going on planet Earth. The message from Rendezvous with Rama is, you Earthlings are not all that. Just want to let you know. In fact, you Earthlings are kind of boring, so we're just going to keep traveling. Thank you very much. So that was Rendezvous with Rama, and it kind of fits rather nicely with this story of tracking this 31/Atlas. Anyway, that's it for now. Until next week. And look forward to my long-form videos and shorts too. And remember, subscribe, subscribe. And you over there, you subscribe. Right. Okay. Madam. I'm Court.
Hi, Miss Kim asked me to let you know she had